Back into conference play with a split on the road, a loss against Grand Valley, a win against Davenport. I want to start with the Grand Valley game from Friday. When we talked last week, you'd said Grand Valley State's, they're always a test. They've been the top dog in the GLIAC for basically as long as the GLIAC has had women's lacrosse, and you want to get closer every year. Obviously, not the result that you want, but do you feel like the squad has been doing that? Do you feel like they've made that progress you wanted to see?
Yes, we definitely had some things you can look at that game and have some really positive outlooks from it. I think that's the closest margin we've ever had against Grand Valley, which isn't something you want to celebrate. We really want to get closer and closer until we are always competitive with them. But there's a couple stat lines that'll show the significant holes we have where we aren't quite matching up. But we did overall have really good team defense. I was impressed with how well we stuck to our game plan there. Obviously, still 18 goals isn't enough to hold them to 16 goals. 16 goals, close enough. And we switched our offense from last week to this week, going into this week to what we want to do for the rest of the year. And I do think we showed that we can execute that against really high level defense. We just didn't have the shots land outside of Minnie, which obviously you can't really beat a team if you only have one person scoring. She had a great game. She had two really great games, but we do need to be able to have some other players step up, and there's still just kind of a different caliber of player at Grand Valley that they have more scoring options than just one. And we're working towards that. We had some looks for other players, some connections that happened and shots that just didn't fall. So positive progress on both ends of the field. It's just, I think the draw controls ended up being, if I'm remembering the stat sheet I was handed right, 22-8 in favor of Grand Valley, and you can't win a game if you lose that many draws. So every draw is a possession. So it's a lot more defense than offense. But overall, Lauren Regal had a really good game. Heather Beebe did. Our defense had a strong showing. It's just, we're not quite there yet, but we have probably two more times to try to take it to them. So not two more times. Sorry.
And it's not like you guys got a break. Obviously, you don't get to take the next one off. Davenport has been maybe not as consistent as Grand Valley, but still usually a tough opponent for you guys. And you guys have done that in the past. You remember last year it was the same exact thing, but both those two teams came up to the Dome for back-to-back games. And talk about the way you guys responded. I think more importantly, I saw, I'm on Twitter too, and I see the response is more important than maybe the adversity you faced in the beginning. Talk about how they were able to bounce back.
For sure. The bounce back against Davenport was really important. That team has kind of become a rival to us just kind of because of the way that their team acts and plays is so different than ours, and the way that they traditionally have been coached is so different than ours. And it was really important for our team to be able to step up and just dominate the way that they did in that game. We executed what we wanted to. We weren't afraid the way we traditionally have been when we faced Davenport. There's always been this kind of fear factor when you go in and we play really tense. We played light and loose from the start, even though we were focused and we had a good warm-up. And just the defense in that game was excellent. We were able to shut down their better players. And obviously Davenport's, if you look at the record, they're having kind of a down year, but they still do play the same way they always play when they're really good, and being able to shut down that style of play is going to be important as we face them again and in GLIAC play. And they matched up really well against Concordia St. Paul, so just being able to show that we can score against that type of team is important as we move into the second half of the season, which is just playing the same teams again. But the sharing of the ball and the ball movement that we saw in the Davenport game with couple different kids getting hat tricks, a lot of different assists happening, and just some people scoring that haven't traditionally in the past gotten the looks, but have always been capable of it. It's really good to see that at this point in the season, because you do need to start moving the ball more. This is how lacrosse needs to be played late season, because people have scouted for Minnie. So you need to be able to share the ball. You need your role players to be able to step up, and we saw that out of Claire Johnson and Natalie McGinnis. Caitlin, I wouldn't say is a role player. She's just also a star, and she's really stepped up this year. So it's been really cool to see Caitlin Bridger. She is our best assist to turnover ratio on our team. She's second in scoring now. Just to see her kind of start blooming this year after being hurt last year. It was really impressive. But that win at Davenport felt good.
4 hat tricks,
Yes.
10 unanswered goals.
Mm-hmm.
Was there one tipping point, or was it just like, it sounds, when you put it like that, it's like opening Pandora's box, but I imagine it wasn't looking like that on the field.
There was a point in the third quarter where we just started moving the ball really well and attacking from behind the goal instead of in front of the goal. And our ex-player, Natalie McGinnis, was able to see things that our top players weren't able to see, and she was just finding people and moving the ball that way. And it really was neat because it's something we've worked on a lot in the last 2 weeks, and we've shifted our offense from more of like a true motion into a actual like they have to use their brains and read every defensive look offense that relies entirely upon them like communicating and knowing the way their teammates play. And it was a huge risk to switch to that type of offense this late in the season, and they looked at me and were like, no coach, we don't want to go back into that motion, we're going to do this right. So I'm proud of them for doing that, and I was really impressed by, again, our role players showing up. Yeah, and it was sunny.
Imagine that.
It was sunny, and we were wearing all yellow, and it was glorious.
So one thing that you had alluded to there and that Kobe mentioned was that this is Davenport's become kind of a rival for your squad, and that this is a matchup that traditionally freaks out your team. So
Yeah.
to be able to produce this kind of result and go and just take control and own basically the entire game, what is the significance of that, of a performance like that and a win like that for your team beyond just the fact that it's one more in the Win Cup?
It's really important. It changes their mindset as they approach these games that have traditionally have been pretty close, but we've always been on the underdog side of them, and just showing them that if they show up and they're ready from the start and they play with the confidence that they do in practice and they play the way that they're taught to and they buy into communicating with each other and like the whole team game plan, that they can be successful. And it was so important in that game because of the aggression traditionally Davenport has really frazzles us. Just being able to like look through it and just play without being affected by it, it's going to be so important because Concordia plays exactly the same way. And that's why they had such a close game. There were so many yellow cards in that game between those two teams, and just being able to not rise above, because it's not like the wrong way to play lacrosse. It's just not the way that our team plays. So.
Now, your squad has had a pretty grueling schedule this year, and when we talked last week, a lot of your squad dealing with similar injuries, a lot of IT band stuff, a lot of knee stuff. Weekend off here, actually. How is that going to help your squad here as they make the push down in the late season?
Oh, they're all very excited to not be on a bus this Thursday. So, because we always leave on Thursday, always come back on Sunday, and they're really excited about it. And it'll be good for us too. Like, we need to shake some things out we've been struggling with, like obviously the draw controls in the Grand Valley game. We need to work on our 50-50 balls and stuff. But it'll be really good to have some body recovery time, because games tax your heavy minute players in a way that practice just doesn't, because the toll having a metal stick shoved into your kidneys takes on your body is pretty significant, and we can kind of obviously taper that this week, and they can get some body recovery time, and the bruising will start to fade. So I think it's really important. And also, as we lead into our other rival, I mean, we are a conference of 4, so everybody's kind of our rival. But as we lead into our other rival at Concordia St. Paul, that's always such a fun game because most of our team is from Minnesota. So to be able to have all this lead up time to be able to really scout CSP and know what we're getting into, that'll be important too. So we're going in with fresh legs, even though we are playing a Division III team on that Friday before. But fresh legs going into that week will be important. Lots of like sleeping, not on a bus. Yeah. They did all buy these like dog seat covers that they put in the bus, and the dog seat covers create a hammock. So in each bus seat, they all have their own little hammock.
I've been on a lot of bus trips. I haven't seen that before.
They looked very happy, just cozy, and they're swinging little dog hammocks.
It beats sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
That's not particularly comfortable in those buses. I've tried that a few times.
Yeah.
But like you said, Coach, conference of 4. So that means already at this point, you've seen everybody.
Yep.
So how do you feel about where the Cats stack up in terms of conference play?
I think we have a really good shot at matching up well against Davenport and Concordia St. Paul again. They both have some injuries that have happened that could raise both their level of plays if those kids were to choose to come back this year. It's so late in the season that big injuries when you haven't played at all this year, I'd be shocked if they each have a star player that's out. I'd be shocked if we saw them come back. But if we do, it would definitely change our scout. And also this late in the season, people have really scouted us, so that's why it was so important for us to change kind of our offensive structure. But I'm excited for 2 competitive games against those 2 teams. And then Grand Valley plays a very obvious, easily scoutable offense that we are ready for. It's just so hard because their talent level is so high that even if you know exactly what they're gonna do every time, which we did, you still can't stop it every time because it's the quickness thing and the be able to finish through contact. So you just hope that one of these times when we play them, the reads we make, we will actually also finish the defensive play. Can't just be like, oh, they're running 41 from the left wing, we have to slide here to here, and then we don't do it quite fast enough, and the girl just runs right in and scores. But we know what we're supposed to do, so that's good.
Knowing is half the battle.
It is, yeah.